Back in the 1800s, there was a man that owned the ground where Waverly Hills sits. He had an only daughter, and she was educated. And she decided that she would like to have her own school once she got a little older. So her father came up to this hill where the building's set right now and built a small one-room schoolhouse and let her teach school to the local children. And she decided that she would name the building Waverly, and that was for her favorite author. And from there, that's how Waverly Hills first got its name of Waverly.
Around 1910, when tuberculosis really started, taking its grip on the area, they built a hospital on the land that Colonel Hayes had owned. Within a couple of years, they outgrew that. They had to add on additions. They had originally 40 or 50 patients there, but tuberculosis just kept, becoming more and more prevalent. So in 1926, they built the state-of-the-art hospital. One of the features of which was to take advantage of these cooling breezes. And, they didn't know much about tuberculosis back then. They thought really all you could do was keep a person rested and well-nourished and give them lots of fresh air, and that's what would cure the disease.
Waverly was one of the first tuberculosis hospitals in the southeastern part of the United States. It was built, actually finished in 1926, the current building that is there. It treated tuberculosis patients all the way up to the early 1960s when a cure and penicillin was developed at that point. After that, it became a geriatric hospital for several years, and that hospital for the elderly was closed down in the early 80s. And ever since then, it's been pretty much vacant as a working facility of any kind.
The best I could measure the building, we have 108,000 square feet. It would house 500 patients. And at the time that it was built, which is 1926 when it was completed, this was considered a state-of-the-art building. There was always one main doctor, and then there was usually 6 other doctors under him, and then from there it would vary, maybe go up or down. And then the nursing staff, they actually had a separate building that was behind the main hospital. It was just to house the nurses, and I understood that there was anywhere from 60 to 75 nurses at a time that lived in that structure.
Waverly's paranormal legends have gone back for years and years. People believe that over 60,000 people died there at one time, and reports of hauntings and strange unexplained activities have gone on there for years and years. I've investigated quite a few areas that have been reportedly haunted in the northern Kentucky and southern Indiana area, and Waverly is by far the most active place I've ever been.
There are a number of locations in Louisville, but I think the holy grail of hauntings is probably Waverly Hills Sanatorium. They say that's the most haunted place in the United States, if not, on Earth. Most people say 63 to 65,000 people died there. When you look at the records, the experts say there's no way that many people could have died. They said most likely it was tops 8,000 or 7,000 people. But still, you think about 7,000 people dying in one location over the course of 20, 30 years. That's quite a lot.
There's been a large debate on how many people actually died up here. So we started a memorial site where we tried to get people and families that had any kind of death records where we could prove that people up here died up here. We're up to about 11,000 that we can prove. We assume that there's a lot more than that.
Well, Waverly's always been known to be on it. And, no one's going to believe anything till they see it for themselves. I wouldn't either, but I have seen things up here for myself. It can scare you. I don't care who you are, you're not ready for it. I've ran out of this building more times than I could count, and I will again, I'm sure. It's not the last time. But there's a lot of stories that do go along with the building, and, a lot of them we don't know what's true, what's not. There are some stories that we have found out that are true.